There are 5 critical lessons and benefits of biblical examples. Number 1, biblical examples help us to understand God better by giving us practical insight into the nature of God, the attributes of God, and the moves of God. As we look at the examples of biblical characters and the peculiar relationship and work that they have with God, we will have practical insight into the nature of God, the attributes of God, and the moves of God. They also give us an understanding of how to provoke the power of God for miraculous intervention and the negative human attitudes that can turn his power off. Number 2, biblical examples help us to find the courage to believe that if fellow human beings with similar passions and natural limitations can relate with God and secure his attention for miraculous intervention, then it is not out of place for us today and as human beings to secure divine attention and intervention in our affairs. Number 3, biblical examples reveal that the same God that intervened in different conditions of different people in different generations is still the same that can intervene in different human affairs in this generation. Brethren, Abraham, Joseph, and Jabez were different biblical characters that looked up to God for different things and who lived in different generations. While Abraham was looking up to God for his son, Joseph was believing God for the fulfillment of his dreams and deliverance from the prison custody, and Jabez was trusting God for blessing, supernatural enlargement of his coast, divine presence, and protection. The same God that attended to Abraham in his generation, according to Genesis chapter 22, 25, verse 2 to 5, and Genesis chapter 24, verse 1, attended to Joseph, according to Genesis chapter 41, verses 51 to 52, and also attended to Jabez, according to First Chronicles chapter 4, verses 9 and 10. Even different biblical characters that have similar problems but live in different generations saw the miraculous intervention of the same God. The same God that delivered Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego from the fiery furnace of fire and delivered Daniel from the lion's den in their generations, according to Daniel chapter 3, verse 1 to 30, and Daniel chapter 6, verse 1 to 28, is the God that delivered Peter, then Paul and Silas from the shackles and fetters of the prison in their generation, according to Acts of the Apostles chapter 12, verse 1 to 17, and Acts of the Apostles chapter 16, verse 16 to 40. Interestingly, this God is still the same in our day. Knowing this as a believer is sufficient to quicken your hope for the miraculous today. Number 4, biblical examples established a common and acceptable divine pattern that believers must follow and observe to connect to the miraculous, irrespective of their color, background, status, language, and tribe, and regardless of their generation or dispensation. From the various biblical examples, the common pattern in the lives of people that God moved for was 1, their absolute faith. That was what provoked the move and the power of God. 2, their unshakable trust. They continued to trust God even when it looked like it was not going to happen for them. And 3, their naturally impossible confidence, even in the face of intimidation and harassment. And 4, their total dependence on God, notwithstanding the hopelessness of their natural circumstances and condition. Their total dependence on God was never in doubt. They had no alternative. They totally trusted God and depended on Him. Once that pattern is established by believers today, brethren, the miraculous is inevitably repeated in our day. Number 5, biblical examples also established a common and acceptable spiritual principle that provoked the intervention of God in human affairs. It is a master key and a never failing spiritual principle that always unlock the presence and power of God, regardless of the problem of man and the time he or she lived.